Hello friends, welcome to the third video on this channel. If you are new to this channel, my name is Lingcholi Sangtam and this is a newly created channel. And I've created this channel with an intention to bring educational videos for hungry learners like myself. And therefore I really hope that this channel brings a value to your life. And if you think you learned something from my video, please consider subscribing so that you will not miss any of my videos. Alright, so today's video is on the emotional mind and rational mind. Important lesson from the life of Joseph of the Bible. This video is more or less a continuity of the first two videos. So if you have still not watched the two videos, please go and watch them. So let's start this way. The basic difference between emotional mind and rational mind is that emotional mind looks for comfort and rational mind looks for solution. And interestingly, every person has both emotional and rational side of mind, and therefore we are able to express our feelings such as joy, happiness, sadness. And not only that, but also we are able to find solutions out of problems and way out of mess. But here's the thing, there is a danger behind our emotion which can be really harmful if not careful. There is an enigma, the mystery behind our emotion, which is even harder and more complicated to understand. It is like a quicksand. Once fall into it, it's hard to get out of it because you get stuck there. So it is very important to let our rational mind take control over our emotional mind. And if not, it is dangerous when our emotional mind takes control over our rational mind. If you are into psychology, you will come across a name, Sigmund Freud, who was actually the first among the psychologists to talk about human unconscious that shapes personality. In his psychoanalytic theory of personality, he talks about three very important elements that shapes our personality. Basically, they are the unconscious state, conscious state, and pre-conscious state. So, I will not stick on this. You may please go and have your research and study on this theory. It's really interesting. Now, keeping psychoanalytic theory of personality as an analogy, let's try to understand what is the danger behind emotion that I'm talking about. What are the dangers? Roughly speaking, those men who commit rape, who commit suicide, people who are addicted to pornographies, those men who are not faithful to their women, or those women who are not faithful to their men, they are usually driven by their emotions subsequently. And so their action goes beyond control. Here's an example. Every human being naturally has a sexual urge, sexual desire, nothing to be ashamed of or hide about. But most of the people can control their sexual desire. But there are also people who cannot control their sexual desire. And by control, I mean not escalating it. You see, it becomes horrific when it is vastly driven by the emotion. And so most of the weak men lose their control. And as a result, chaos occurs. The bigger danger is that once a person gets lost in their emotion, it becomes even harder to realize that to sexually abuse a person is a crime before the law or is morally wrong because they get pleasurably lost in their state of flow. So it is very important to let our rational mind take control over our emotional mind, and if not, it is very dangerous when our emotional mind takes control over our rational mind, because we can easily get blinded and get lost. To understand it even more pragmatically, I want to bring the biblical story of Joseph. You see, Joseph was a young man who was smart, good-looking, faithful, obedient. You know, Joseph had all the good qualities that any man would ever imagine to have. Potiphar was impressed by Joseph's intelligence and loyalty because he dreamed dreams and could interpret dreams, and his service towards him was so faithful. And I should say that Joseph was a rational-minded person. Yes, the Bible does not mention so, but his life shows that he was a rational-minded person. There was a time when Joseph was tempted by Potiphar's wife, sexually attract Joseph, and attempted to seduce him many times, but wasn't successful because Joseph was God-fearing young man, and he would not do things that would make God unhappy or that would disappoint God. Also, Joseph was rational-minded, and therefore he would not let his emotion overtake him. He would not let his emotion take control over his rational mind. And I suppose in humanly view, I believe to some extent that Joseph at point must have got attracted to the wicked woman. But the fascinating thing is Joseph did not let his emotional mind take control over his life, and therefore he reacted very rationally. And if Joseph was emotional minded person, he could have felt many times, because at one point in his life he became the governor of Egypt, where all the wealth, resources, all the pretty women that we can think about belongs to him. But none of this moved to Joseph, and in fact he became the source of help towards his people, to his family, to the neighboring countries during the time of starvation when the entire land was dry. Joseph became the main source of help. So the story of Joseph draws a fine line between emotional mind and rational mind. And so the thing is, the danger behind our emotional mind can be undoubtedly overcome with our rational mind. And when that's so, our emotional mind and rational mind come together and meet in a bond, it becomes wiseness. And therefore, by letting the rational mind take control over our emotional mind, does not just reduce the risk of the dangers, but it also makes you even wiser. Because sometimes the most dangerous thing can turn into the most safest thing and more valuable thing.